Hello everybody and welcome to the Punchboard Report. My name is Blake Ryder. Today we are looking at Wavelength. Wavelength is a party game designed by Wolfgang Warsch, Alex Hague, and Justin Vickers. Now, Alex Hague and Justin Vickers are largely known for their party game monikers. So party games, on brand for them. Wolfgang Warsch, while he did design The Mind, and The Mind you could maybe make an argument is kind of a party game, he's largely known for more strategic games like Quacks of Quedlinburg or Ganz Schön Clever, Taverns of Tiefenthal, games like that. Just worth pointing out. But anyway, this game is a straight-up party game where you could play competitively or cooperatively. If you play competitively, it's as teams. And what you're trying to do in this game, someone is a clue giver, and the clue giver is going to be given a spectrum at random from a card. And the spectrum could be everything from like good food, bad food, or great music, terrible music, or hard to soft, something like that. And you are going to be given this spectrum, and then there's this little wheel, and you spin the wheel, and then you expose what is behind the wheel, and you will see a target. And you, as the clue giver, you have to basically figure out a clue on this spectrum that will convey to your teammates where this target is located. It's a little bit easier shown than described verbally, so let's get it on the table, and we'll be back after that for some thoughts. Okay, so this is Wavelength, and this kind of sits in the box that it comes in. And my teammate is going to be sitting across from me, and no one else will see what I am looking at. Now, there is a cooperative variant as well. I'll go through that at the end. These are the competitive rules. So on my turn, I'm going to simply pick up one of these cards and look at it, and these cards have a spectrum on them. So this is the spectrum of useless to useful. I'm going to place it here, and I'm going to give this a spin, and when I am satisfied, I will open it up. So this is giving me a target. So in this situation, it is almost the most useless thing possible, okay? However, this thing, depending on where it stops, it could be anywhere. So here we are. This is something that is extremely useless. And now I have to come up with something that is that degree on the useful to useless scale, okay? So I do not choose where this goes. Like I said, I will spin this and then open it. And now I, as the clue giver, have to come up with something that is that degree of useless. Okay, so I will close this and think to myself, what is going to convey that degree of useless? And the first thing that comes to mind is cursive handwriting, because no one ever really uses cursive anymore. They type or they write. I mean, cursive is really only used for your signature, and that's really it. So I will say cursive, okay? And now my teammate will have to guess where on the scale of useless to useful cursive falls. And I hope they end up somewhere around here. But if they end up around there, I will get no points. However, let's say they go, okay, it's useless, but it's not like that useless. Let's say they go there, okay? Now, our opposing team, our opponents, will have one opportunity to get a point as well. So they see where my teammate put that pointer, and they have to guess now if the actual center portion of that target is more on this side or more on that side. So let's say they think it is useless, but even more useless. Let's say they think it's even more useless. So they'll put this little marker on that side, and then we open it up and we see what happens. So my teammate put it there, which is worth 3 points, so we would get 3 points. And our opponents said they thought it was even more useless, and they were correct, because the center of the target was on this side of the pointer. So they would get 1 point because they were right. However, if they put it on this side and thought it was more useful than that, they would get no points. And then that's the game. Then they would go and do the exact same thing, and you play to 10 points. First person to get to 10 points is the winner. One other rule, let's hypothetically say our opponents were crushing us. Let's say they had 9 points and we had 3 points, and it was our turn. We did our thing. We pulled the card out. We opened it up, and we did our turn, and then we actually guessed it to be there, and we were perfect, and we got 4 points. So 4 plus 3 is 7. Our 7 is still behind their 9. So if that ever happens and you get the perfect 4 and you're still behind your opponents, you could theoretically then go again and get a second turn. So that it's kind of a catch-up mechanism. So even if they are 1 score away from actually winning, if you just keep getting 4s and you keep on staying behind them, you can just buddy up turns, and then you could theoretically win. It's hard to get 4s. It happens, but it's pretty rare, and when it happens, it's fantastic. But just know that there is a catch-up mechanism in the game as well. So that's the whole game. If you're playing this game cooperatively, you and your teammates will do the exact same thing. One person will be the clue giver, and you will give clues. The game will start. You will take 7 of these cards, and you will then play with 7 cards. and you try to get as many points as you can. However, anytime you get it on that perfect 4, you will then add an additional card to your stack. So you theoretically can get more than the 7 cards you start with, and then you get your final score, and you compare that on a scale to see how well you did. That's the game. Let me just show you a few other cards just to give you some examples. So this is the scale of forbidden to encouraged, the scale of ethical to eat to unethical to eat, weak to strong, ugly man to beautiful man, etc. And these are all double-sided, so there's a whole bunch of cards in the game. And there's also an advanced deck, which give you a bit more like esoteric out-of-the-box clues that you got to think about. Anyway, that's the game. I love this game. I love this game. I'll play it anytime. I think it's so good. This is just perfect for the way my mind works. And what makes this game fantastic is that little sliver, that 4. Right in the middle of the bullseye, right in the middle of the target. When you get that, if you get that, it's hard to get it, but when you get it, there is no greater feeling. It is awesome. It's awesome because you just celebrate because you're in sync. You're on the same wavelength. I played this game cooperatively and competitively, and it works fantastic on all accounts. A couple of good examples I played, because you always remember the great ones when you play this game. You always remember when you get the 4. I was playing once with a buddy of mine, and the scale was rigid to flexible. Rigid to flexible. And it was like on the flexible side, but not like the most flexible thing, but it was flexible. And I gave him the clue string cheese, because string cheese can't be bent, it's flexible, but if you bend it too much, it's gonna snap. So I gave him that, and he got the 4, and we were elated. It was awesome. Another example, played it with my wife, and we were playing, and the clue was best date, worst date. And that's open to interpretation. That's a lot of what the game is. You have to interpret it a certain way, especially those advanced cards. Those are could be very esoteric, and it's really open to user interpretation. So best date, worst date. And it could be a date with a person. It could be an actual day. But anyway, I gave her, it was on this side. It was on the best date side, but again, not the best date, but a solid date. So I gave her the clue June 30th. To me, that's a solid date because, it's almost July 4th weekend. You're about to have a long holiday weekend. The weather is nice, but it's not like the best date. It's not the holidays. It's not Thanksgiving. Solid date though. So I gave her June 30th. Again, we got the 4 and it was awesome. All that said, this game is not necessarily for everybody. I mentioned I played it with my wife a bunch of times because I beg her because she doesn't really like this game. She will humor me and play it, but she doesn't love it. She feels it like, she doesn't love coming up with the clues. She finds like feels like pressure when she's coming up with the clues for some reason. I don't pressure her when we play to come up with the clues, but she feels it for some reason. She feels pressure when she's coming up with the clues. So, it's not necessarily for everybody. There is some downtime in this game because sometimes when you're coming up with the clues, it could take you several minutes to come up with something that is precisely where you think it should be on the spectrum, and you're coming up with something that you think your teammate will know and understand and get it. So, there is a bit of downtime. Sometimes it could be a little bit of a gap. So just know that. But all that said, that doesn't bother me even in the slightest. The production quality is great. I love it. It's like a gizmo. It's like a toy. I love just showing people about it. And most people I've shown this to, pretty much everybody except for my wife loves it. So I do think my wife is in the minority of people that don't like it. I think it's great. Looks really cool. I mean, super colorful. People are always going to just want to join in and join the game, and you can do that. It's not a game that you have to take too seriously. So overall, those are my opinions on this game. I really like it. If this sounded interesting to you, check it out. And again, my name is Blake Ryder. Thank you for watching.